You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. As always, your guy, Pat Lane, here with my man, Matt St. Jean. And Matt, it's officially summer for me. I'm pretty excited about it. The school year is officially over, and I'm heading into summer break.
I wish I had a summer break. That sounds pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, very jealous.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. It's a nice thing. So it's a long year to get through with the kids. But this year was a trying year. We were hacked this year, I think, unconfirmed, but I believe hacked. Our system was just down, still isn't up. And so for like weeks, we were just like printing stuff out. But what's crazy and what we take for granted is that we couldn't print things out because printing is done but with Wi-Fi now, and we didn't have any Wi-Fi. So we had to have like a USB drive, make like a PDF of something, save it onto the USB drive, and then plug the USB drive into the printer, and then print out from there. It was a wild time. It was a wild time. It was like being back in the 80s, except everything is set up for 2025, and we were back in the 80s instead. It was pretty nuts. So
yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, we're back to like, at least we were back to like Wi-Fi and stuff, but the system, our like system, still wasn't there, which is crazy. So thankfully we had moved a lot of stuff to Google, but we had like an N drive, which is just save stuff for years, like years and years and years of like curriculum and like tests and all that gone, just gone. Wild.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, wild. So yeah. So anyway, like that. So that was fun. But we got through it, and here we are at the end. So, and I'm kicking my summer off with a bang. Head to New York City tomorrow night or tomorrow morning for a concert tomorrow night with my oldest and my youngest together are going to a K-pop concert at Citi Field. Fun. So I'm not excited for the K-pop concert. I am excited for Citi Field. Never been there before. I'm hoping to get an ice cream in a baseball helmet. That's the goal. That's the goal. We'll see what happens, but that's the goal for tomorrow night is ice cream in the Mets helmet. We'll see if I can pull it off at a Stray Kids concert, but that's what I'm hoping.
Gotta get that.
Yeah. So it's a must. So anyways, yes, let's do it. Let's get into it. You want to without further ado, get us into the first of our two games, the last two games of the 2003 regular season.
Yeah, so we're coming to the end here of the 2003 season. I think one of the interesting things is that the Patriots end up with Saturday games for their last 2 weeks of the season. So that means for week 16, they end up with a Saturday night game on ESPN in the Meadowlands, Giant Stadium, taking on the Jets back at that old racetrack. I think maybe the most interesting part of this game when you first load it up, this was the 200th ever NFL game on ESPN. So they have a lot of people coming through the booth and a lot of characters in this game, which is something we're going to be, I think, touching on later in this one. I don't know if we want to save that for the other events part or if we want to do that chronologically.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it somewhere. Maybe even more than once.
Yes. But it was a Jets team that was out of the playoffs at this point. They're 6-8, but they're not an awful team. Chad Pennington gets hurt in the preseason, misses the first 6 games of the year. He comes in during game number 7, but doesn't start until game 8, which I was reading about this because I wasn't sure. Like Pennington he broke his wrist on his left hand. Mm-hmm. His first game back is week 7. They put him in partway through the second quarter. Because that was like partially a plan, I guess. And then he just played the rest of the game. Like Vinny Testaverde played the first quarter and a half and looked good, and they just pull him for Pennington. They're like, all right, Pennington, you're in now.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm not trying to understand that. They end up going 2-4 without Pennington to start the year, including a loss in New England, with Patriots victimizing Vinny Testaverde there at quarterback and picking him off, getting a defensive touchdown in that game. And then the Jets end up going 4-6 with Pennington in the lineup. Still not great, but that's better.
Better, right?
Yeah. A somewhat competitive team. Head coach of the Jets, Herm Edwards. Offensive coordinator, Paul Hackett. Defensive coordinator, Ted Cottrell. Some of the assistants on this team, Pep Hamilton, a name you might know. He's bounced around the league for a while. This was his first year in the NFL. Bob Sutton was their linebackers coach. If that name sounds familiar to you, he was the Chiefs defensive coordinator when the Patriots went through Arrowhead in 2018, who the Chiefs then promptly fired and brought in Steve Spagnuolo, which worked out very well for them.
Worked out pretty good.
One other name Patriots fans are going to know, coaching offensive line for the New York Jets in 2003 is one Doug Marrone, which maybe we could touch on during this. And then just some notable Jets players in this one. Their center, Kevin Mawai. It was his. This is the 5th consecutive Pro Bowl for him. He would make 6 in a row, 7 straight years being either Pro Bowl or All Pro. They also had Curtis Martin, Santana Moss, Wayne Corbett, future Patriot Lamont Jordan. Vinny Testaverde, Sean Ellis, and John Abraham on the line. And then one of the storylines in this game. Apparently, in that first meeting, Ted Washington had a leg injury, broke his leg, and he thought Kevin Mawai, the center, did it on purpose, and they have Mawai mic'd up for the game, and they capture a moment at the beginning when he goes up to Washington. It's like, hey man, I wasn't doing that on purpose. Then they shake hands, and they're all good, which was the thing that they were hyping up in this game for on-field action. Patriots end up taking it 21-16, build 21-10 lead. Early in the second half, and then the defense shuts them down. Jets finish this one. Pennington has 5 picks and he gets sacked 4 times. Patriots have a defensive touchdown with Willie McGinnis, I think, and then David Givens with 2 touchdown catches.
Yeah. So there's kind of a lot to listen. This is one of those weird games that there's not a ton that's memorable from this game. Obviously, there's one very memorable sideline interview, but. There's not a ton that's memorable from this game. The Patriots are outgained by the Jets pretty significantly. The Patriots were 3 for 11 on third down. The Jets were 9 for 16 on third down. 9 for 16 on third down's really good. To lose a game with over 50%, third down conversion rate, that's pretty tough to do, right? And this is one of those things where this to me is the 03 team in a nutshell, right? And the Patriots did a really nice job at times of scoring points, and they did that, of course, in the Super Bowl. But this was a defensive team, right?
Yeah.
They pick off Pennington 5 times, like you said. They sacked them 4 times. They stopped a 2-point conversion in the 4th to keep it as a 2-score game. They did this, and they just did this stuff over and over and over and over again. And man, and they pointed it out on the broadcast, but Ty Law's pick in the end zone was just gross. Yeah. He's just he was complete lockdown. What are you doing even looking his way? Type of guy.
I think what was funny, there's a play earlier in the game where they highlight basically the Patriots know that the Jets are about to throw a fade, and they just have Ty Law 12 yards off the line of scrimmage. Facing the sideline, all right, I know where you're going with this. Beat me. And then he shuts it down, and then the Jets go back to it later. And he picks it the second.
And that was almost like an out and up. The out and up one was the pick, but it was, that's what he did, man.
Yeah. He was blanketing those. I think we should go back to the beginning of this game, because we talked about the Bruschi pick against Miami.
Teddy Bruschi, what a freaking bum, by the way. What a bum, dude. I just, some of the stuff that really annoys you, he gets a leaping interception. Yeah, great. Good for you. But doesn't return it for a touchdown. What the hell, dude?
What's
Four
the
straight
point?
times he had returned it for a touchdown. What's the point of
You're gonna
intercepting
make
it if you're not going to take it back for a touchdown?
you're
What
gonna
are we
make
doing?
Tom Brady do it. I mean, that's really being a poor
Like,
teammate,
come on.
forcing
You
your
know what I mean?
teammates to pick up the work there. No,
Four
it's
straight interceptions were returned for touchdowns by Teddy Bruschi. That's outrageous.
because there's
that
one against
he had that
Miami,
streak
one
going.
against Philly at the start of the year, and then I'm assuming the other two were in
Or the
2002,
year
probably.
before, yeah, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like when they said that, I was like, wait, that can't be right. And then I can't remember exactly what they were, but I went back and looked at them and I'm like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. And then the very next play, blown coverage, and Givens is wide open in the end zone for a 35-yard touchdown.
Yeah, and it's like the way the Patriots open this game, it's the same. They talk about some of the drills I do, but it's the same thing as the Miami game. You try to throw over the middle of the field, the linebackers for the Patriots would just, if they were blitzing or sitting in a shallow zone or whatever, and they see the quarterback winding up, they're reading his eyes and jumping and trying to catch the ball. Bruschi nails it, and then next play, and that was the second play from scrimmage for the Jets. And then the next play, the Jets go cover two. The Patriots run play action. So there's a ball down, like David Givens just runs down the sideline, and the safety baits, like he takes the bait on the play action, and the corner's letting him go because that's the safety's responsibility.
Right.
And there's no one within 10 yards of him.
Crazy.
And it's you're 48 seconds into this game. The other team got the opening kickoff, and you're up 7-0.
Yeah.
There's basically no better way to start a football game,
100%.
especially on the road against a division rival.
Absolutely, right. And then the Jets go on a really impressive drive. They march down the field. They pick up a few third downs, including the third down run by Chad Pennington, which was a beautiful design play. It looked like a naked bootleg. Now, whether that was a read or whether that was the call, I don't know. But, he faked the handoff to Curtis Martin going to the left and ran to the right, and there was not a soul there because why would you be there? It's freaking Chad Pennington. And that's interesting because it does come up later. And then they go back and forth. The Patriots can't move the ball. The Jets really can't move the ball much. And then Willie has a pick six. And this, again, is another one of those where, just like you said, as soon as they see the quarterback going to throw, they're going for the ball, right? And Willie tips it up in the air, catches it himself, and brings it back 15 yards for a touchdown. But what the hell was he looking at on that play? Ty Law had that slant blanketed. Even best case scenario, it's an incomplete pass. I have no idea what he was thinking. And I guess maybe he didn't see Willie. Maybe he thought Willie was covering, because they ran double slants at that play. Maybe he thought he was covering the inside slant and didn't see the outside slant behind him. I don't know. But that guy, no one was open. And they just threw it right to Willie. It was a bizarre play. Yeah. And now it's 14-0. Right?
Yeah.
And so,
14-7.
14-7, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want to go back because you mentioned that long drive the Jets had, and I feel like we've been doing this long enough now that we can start to take a big picture view of the streak. Yeah. I feel like every time on here that we have talked about an opponent touchdown drive with 2003 Patriots, we're making a comment about how long the possession is. Really, except for like a couple Peyton Manning and maybe Steve McNair drives.
Yeah,
which I think is a testament to what this defense did. It's funny, they actually get beat a decent amount. They'll give up first downs and they'll give up some chunk plays, but they force you. They don't really give up anything over 15, 20 yards, and they have complicated blitzes and they tackle well.
Yep.
So the whole thing is all right, yeah, if you're going to score on us, it's going to be because you're going to have to chain together a bunch of these short plays. But the Jets touchdown drive is 16 plays, 9 minutes and 20 seconds.
Well, and to your point,
and that's the only way you could score against
100%. And to your point, the Jets have a 16-play drive. They score just after the 2-minute warning, which is kind of impressive. They go 11 plays to kick a field goal, and then they score another touchdown in the third quarter, and that's a 12-play drive. And so, if you're not, in this particular game, if you're not getting double-digit, plays, you're not scoring, right? And that's what it came down to. And you're right; they force you to win consistently and to consistently be right and not make a mistake. And more often than not, teams can't do it, right? And they had the talent, obviously, where they could force you into making bad decisions and, get after the quarterback and strip the quarterback and strip the running back coming through and pick off the quarterback. And, it's a really great point by you because it really is, the case here. They do mention on the broadcast about Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin, obviously drafted by the Patriots, who I consider maybe the most underrated running back of all time. In the Hall of Fame, obviously, I think he's a top 10 running back of all time. And I just think if you were to tell someone that, I think, especially like people now, they'd be like, "What are you talking about? You're crazy." But they were showing the stat that Barry Sanders had 10 straight 1,000-yard seasons to start his career, and Martin, who had at this point had 1,000 yards in 2003, had 9. And they were like, it's a pretty cool accomplishment. They were talking about how much Martin enjoyed that and how it was really cool for him because he looked up to Barry and so on and so forth. And then lo and behold, the next year he actually rushes for a career high, like 1,600 yards the next year or whatever. And
1697.
1697, yeah, it's crazy. So, and then he plays one more year and retires and doesn't rush for 1,000 yards there and does the exact same thing that Barry did, which is start his career off with 10 and then sail off into the sunset. Pretty unbelievable. Just an unbelievable career and a phenomenal running back. And the fact that, again, they were able to contain him. Now, I say contain him. He rushed for 89 yards. It's not like he had a huge game. But still, they were able to pretty much contain him. And speaking of running backs, Antoine Smith, for the first time all year long, is a 100-yard rusher of the Patriots. The first 100-yard rusher of the entire season. They had won 10 straight games at this point, and they hadn't had a 100-yard rusher in a game yet.
Put a pin in that for when we do the Week 1 2004 game in a couple episodes.
Yep.
And that's Martin. It's 89 yards, no touchdowns on 22 attempts. So, it's all right. It's not a super efficient thing. And, I want to go back for a second because we're talking about the Patriots linebackers and the interceptions. They do mention on the broadcast that they did a drill where I think it was Pepper Johnson would stand close to the linebackers and just throw footballs at them as hard as he could. And if they catch it, Pepper Johnson has to do push-ups. And if they drop it, they have to do push-ups. Yeah. And you see that, and we're going to talk about it in the next game here, too. This is a theme. And it's, the first half, the Jets drive. There's a 16 play and the 11 play drive. They don't have any other drive that is longer than 3 plays. You have a 2-play drive that ends in a pick, a 3-play drive or three and outs, and another 3-play drive that ends in a pick. So the Patriots defense is getting off the field in a hurry. Yeah. And then I think what you end up seeing in the second half, the Jets find a way to start moving the ball.
Well, they have that one long drive. It's not really a long drive, but they have that 11-play drive at the end of the first half.
Starting from that drive on, it's 64 yards, 24, 58, 17, a negative 4-yard drive, and then a 27-yard drive. So almost every one of these, they're able to move the ball. 2 of those possessions end in scores. One's a punt. 3 of them are interceptions, which goes back to the bend but don't break, which is you can put really good bend but don't break when you have the playmakers that Patriots defense 100%. Had. Because if you give Ty Law 3 chances in a game to get a pick, he's gonna get one. If you give Willie McGinnis, a couple chances to rush the passer, he's gonna get a sack. It's Jets turned the ball over 5 times in this game, and it should have been more. One of these touchdown drives, I try to remember which one it is. What is it? Oh yeah, it's the one in the second half. Right before the touchdown, Chad Pennington gets strip sacked in the red zone there.
Yeah. Yep.
And the Jets recover it, and then they get a touchdown out of it. But it could have been that could have been another turnover.
100%. And that's
points off the board there too.
Right. Absolutely. And so when they have the ball, the Patriots have the ball at the end of the first half, and they have it 4th and 5 at the 25-yard line. You're thinking the 25. Now, I know it's cold out, but that's a 43-yard field goal. You're thinking that's an automatic kick. They go for it instead of trying to kick the field goal, which tells you the struggles that Adam Vinatieri had, and that shows up again in the next game we're going to talk about as well. But, they decided to go for it. He has Kevin Falk. He throws it to him, and I don't know if Falk was going to continue his route and wasn't sitting down. I'm not sure if they didn't quite communicate well in that play, but he Falk just drops it. And the Jets go on that 11 play drive, and again it's 11 play like 2-minute drive to kick a field goal to end the half. An impressive drive by the Jets.
Well put together.
Absolutely, and it's during that drive that the famous interview happens. I think we can let's skip that for now, and then we can talk.
Yeah, I
think we can talk about it.
Come back to that. I also forgot to mention I mentioned the strip sack on that drive the Jets have in the second half where they end up scoring a touchdown. Also on that drive, Chad Pennington throws a duck, right to Tyrone Poole, but it's like it hangs in the air for forever, and he can't quite catch it. He doesn't time his jump properly. Jets receiver comes away with it for a 22-yard catch.
Crazy.
Which is like that's also what it took the Jets offense was just getting a couple lucky bounces to finally get in the end zone. I will give them credit. I thought the Jets were really resilient in this game. I thought they played hard. I think you watch that and you're like, this is not a bad Jets team, but they were also kind of outmanned across the board. It's a close victory, but it's also a decisive one. You
absolutely
come away from it, you know exactly who the better team is, and there really isn't a lot of doubt about it. Even though the Jets have the ball at the end of the game with a chance to win, you never really feel like you're in that much danger. Kind of like the Browns game. There was another play here, by the way, that I picked up on that I was like, wait, no, this might be, that's the next one. Never mind. That's a different Bethel Johnson play. Bethel Johnson does have a big kickoff return to start the second half.
Yes, he does. Well, 32 yards, like a good one.
Yeah, it's a good, like nothing crazy, but like they have that. Brady hits Givens. Antoine Smith breaks off a big run, and then you're in the red zone, and Brady finds Givens for a touchdown.
Yeah, and
that's 21-10. That kind of feels like the game there.
100%. And then the next drive is the Tyler interception in the end zone, and that actually Pennington was actually strip sacked on that drive as well. Recovered by the Jets, but
that was Vrabel on that one.
Yes, that was the Tyler pick, and the Patriots squibbed that kickoff for some reason. I don't know why, but they squibbed it, and it was returned 27 yards. So they start at the Patriots 45-yard line. Just like a bizarre decision to do that there.
I think this continues our theme in this series of special teams being like just weird. It's the Wild West in special teams back then. Like teams did not know what they were doing. Teams were not very good at it. There's some very random decisions. Yeah.
So then we get to a situation where Pennington runs for another touchdown. Now the Patriots have 21-10. So they're in pretty comfortable. They're in the lead, but they're not killing them. Pennington runs for another touchdown, like a 10-yard touchdown run, which is insane because Chad Pennington's like slower than me. And they go for 2, which is the right call. You're down 5, you go for 2. And Rodney makes a play, and then just high steps over the guy. I freaking love Rodney so much. Like just watching him play, and like he talks crap after every single play, and he just steps over the guy's body on the ground. It's just absolutely incredible. And then you're like, all right, well, it's 21-16. Like we need to do something here. The Patriots get the ball back, and in great field position, thanks to a Dan Klecko 10-yard return. They just get the ball at like their own 40-yard line. Again, another like weird kind of kickoff that doesn't get kicked deep.
Yeah, well, that's the Bethel Johnson, so it's kicked to anyone but him.
I guess that's the idea, right?
Yeah. Well, so that was kind of the default strategy back then too. It was like you kind of have 2 options on a kickoff. You can kick it to the guy who they want, or you can just kick it way shorter and you're going to give them the ball like the 35 and you don't care because it's not a touchdown.
That's fair.
I don't know if that's actually good strategy, but it's what they did at the time.
What the Colts did in the 06 Super Bowl, and they won the Super Bowl. So,
after kicking to the first one. I mean.
Yes. So the Patriots get the ball back. There's 12 minutes left, but the Patriots get the ball back and you're like, all right, let's go on a nice sustained drive. Awesome. No, 3 and out. It's like, bro, come on, dude. So they go 3 and out. They punt. On the third play of the next drive, first down, third play of the next drive, Pennington's picked off by Rodney Harrison on a route by Santana Moss was just, I have no idea what Santana Moss was thinking on that route. Just no clue. Just
It's an
lost in space out there.
out and up, and he stops.
Yeah, just
And
bizarre. And it was a bad throw anyways because Rodney's there. But like at least you feel like your guy gives you a chance, And he just hangs up there for Rodney. Rodney picks it off, and you're like, okay, here we go. This is great. We're gonna this is awesome. We're getting going. There's a penalty on first down. Antoine Smith runs it for like 13 yards. You're like, yeah, okay, let's go. Here we go. And then we run a David Givens reverse deep pass. What the hell? He throws in a double coverage. Man.
Well, and he had Gift actually does have a guy open on that. I think it's Troy Brown down the field, but it's one of those where he's deeper than the safeties, but there are two safeties there, or whatever, two corner and a safety, whatever it is. And Givens just does not have the arm strength to make that throw, and it hangs up there, especially on a cold, not super cold, but a cold, windy night in New York. So yeah, and this is a play that gets talked about in the first Do Your Job documentary, because they talk about the setup to the double pass with Edelman against the Ravens. And, the Patriots like to use their trick plays. David Patton throwing a touchdown in 0-1, that kinds of stuff. They mentioned this play. Belichick does. I think Josh McDaniels too. And that happened. And they're like, we let somebody other than Tom Brady throw the ball, and he threw a pick. So we just decided we're not going to let someone not named Tom Brady throw the football until, it ends up being year 5, year 6, whatever that is, of Edelman in 2014, when they finally are like, okay, we have faith. They actually call the double pass play for the first time in Kansas City that year. They don't run it, and then they end up running it for a very crucial play in the divisional round against Baltimore.
Absolutely, yeah. And so,
which is kind of crazy that you end up with 11 years between.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
Passes there.
So, so the Jets get the ball, and you're thinking, oh God, here we go. The Jets are gonna, now the Jets are down 5. They get the ball. They're gonna drive. No, they go 3 and out, thanks to a sack on third down by Seymour and Vrabel. And then the Patriots get the ball back with just about 6 minutes left, and they don't do anything with the ball necessarily. But they drain 4 minutes off the clock.
Yeah.
And it's enough for the Patriots defense to know that the Jets are getting the ball back with about 2 minutes left to go in the game. And they only have one timeout.
Yeah.
And you feel pretty good about it.
I think the one big play in there, they only get one first down, but it's on 3rd and 6.
Yeah.
After a false start on Daniel Graham, which is inexplicable. He somehow false starts on this play before the rest of the offense is finished lining up.
It's insane.
On 3rd and 1 in the fourth quarter on the road against a division rival with less than 5 minutes left. That's a mistake you can't have. But Fourier ends up catching his first, I think his only catch of the day. 10-yard completion over the middle on 3rd down, moves the chains, and that allows you to take another 2 minutes off the clock and gets you down to, Jets get the ball with 2:12 left at their own 18, needing a touchdown with one timeout.
And now, again, what's interesting about this decision, and this again speaks to the Patriots defense, but 4th and 1 at the Jets 44, right? You're past midfield, just over 2 minutes left to go in the game, up 5 points. I feel like a lot of people think you should go for that. I feel like the numbers would say go for that.
Well, I think forget the numbers. How much have we talked about the Tom Brady QB sneak on this?
Right.
I do feel like, honestly, I look at that. I feel like this is a position where you at least want to line up like you're gonna sneak, and even if you don't, I think you have timeouts, and
we'll see if they jump.
And who cares if there's a false start or a delay game? Because you're going to go from the 44 to the 49. That doesn't really change your punt there at all.
No.
So, maybe it does with Ken Walter because he can only manage 30 yards on it.
That's quite true. So,
but I do feel like that's one where you at least want to line up and see if you can draw them offside. And you go in with we're only going to snap this if we really like the look.
Yeah.
We'll bail otherwise, but we're going to give it a nice hard count. So, I think that's a little surprising, but also they've been stopping that Jets offense all night long.
Well, and
And
that's why you think like, you know what, kick it off to them or punt it to them, and the Jets, move the ball a little bit. They actually end up having to call timeout with the clock stopped. So
yeah,
now
do we want to walk through that last drive?
yeah, sure.
You can do it if you want, or I'll take it.
Well, so Curtis Martin runs on the first play for like 7 yards, 2-minute warning. So okay, check down to Curtis Martin on second down to pick up the first down, and then the very next play, and who is 91? Is 91 at this point? Isn't Marquise Hill yet?
Bobby Hamilton.
Bobby Hamilton. Bobby Hamilton comes screaming off the edge and almost sacks Pennington. And Pennington gets away and ends up dumping it down to Anthony Beck for 2 yards. And so what looked like could have been like a 7-8 yard loss and a sack, ends up being a first down. And now you're just under, like you're about a minute 30 left. And then you throw, an incompletion, and they get, which is funny that they run the play. I think the running back's name is Sowell. They run
Gerald Soule. Yeah.
Basically a screen pass to Soule, drops it. And you're like, bro, what are you doing? They come back, same play on 2, and they just run it again, and it's open again. And this time he breaks the tackle and picks up the first down. And so now you're like, all right, we get the ball. We've picked up a first down. We had 3rd and 8. We pick up a first down. We're just on we're near midfield.
Yeah, they picked up 27 yards on the drive at this point. You're only 45. So like you're picking up yards, but there's also 56 seconds left the next time you snap the ball. So like you've managed to get yards, but it's been literally all checkdowns. No real big plays. So
and you've taken a full minute off the clock, and by the time you throw the incomplete pass on the next play, and then you have to call a timeout because you can't get your offense figured out.
Yeah,
and so now you got no timeouts left.
So it's 50. Now the situation's 50 seconds left, still at the 45, no timeouts.
Right.
And then another incompletion. Now it's 45 seconds left. Now it's 3rd and 10, and you're worried about down in distance too.
Yeah.
And Chad Pennington does what Chad Pennington does.
Chucks it and
throw balls not very hard.
Yeah. By the way, 5 interceptions from 5 different defensive players in this game, which is pretty funny. You look at a defensive end, in McGinnis, a linebacker in Bruschi, a safety in Harrison. Well, I guess 2 safeties in Harrison and Wilson, and a corner in Ty Law. It's pretty wild. So
get all over your defense. Yeah. On that play, it's they go for Santana Moss, kind of going down the left seam.
Yeah.
And Pennington just floats it.
Yeah.
Too much air under it.
Might have had him. Might have had him if it's hard.
Yeah. But it like hangs in the air too long, which gives the safety time to make a play, and I think he throws it a little bit too far too.
Yeah.
And Eugene Wilson is able to just step like right in front, and it's an easy pick for him.
100%. And you feel like that's picked off at the Patriots 35-ish yard line. Even if they complete that pass and Moss gets hit, by the time you spike it, you're down to 30 seconds. Now you still have time, but you're at the 35 yard line with 30 seconds and no timeouts. You're feeling good about where you're at, but like there's no sure bet that you're gonna score. So, anyways, it was
there's no sure bet that you're even gonna get a throw into the end zone depending on how things play out.
Correct.
Which is tough, and I think the thing you see throughout this game too is the Patriots defense shutting them down in the red zone.
Yeah.
So there wasn't when the field condensed. I guess it's an issue Pennington had for a while. Like it just didn't work for him.
Correct.
Run over the middle of the field too. Very tough for him in this game.
Any other notes you have from this one?
Let me go back through this. Well, I do. I'll mention that at the end. Just some historical stuff with this matchup. Some really big sacks. I thought the front seven was really good in this one. The Patriots bring one where then they did this a lot that year, where they would bring a corner blitz, and it's just like a lot of times you think of a corner blitz, you think of like the nickel blitzing, like a slot blitz, and they would blitz the outside corner on the one corner side, and like they do that, and the left tackle just loses his mind and is like, oh, I got to go block Tyrone Poole now.
Right.
And just stops blocking Mike Vrabel. And Mike Vrabel gets a free rush and just hammers Bennington, which does make me a little bit concerned about Doug Marrone when you watch that happen. Granted, it's 22 years ago.
It is 22 years later, yes.
I was watching this game, and I'm like, man, this Jets offensive line, like, does not, like, they don't have answers for these blitzes or anything. And then I pull up the Jets Pro Football Reference page. It's under other notable assistants, Doug Marrone, offensive line.
Yeah. Well, again, you'd like to think that he's learned a few things in 22 years, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
There's one. They show a graphic during the game showing the Patriots were the first team in NFL history to win 10 straight games by 14 or fewer points. They win this one. That ends up being the end of that streak. They blow out the Bills the following week. So that's 11 straight wins that this one is of 14 or fewer points. Just a testament to the defense, really, how many plays the defense makes in that stretch to make that happen. And obviously Brady as well.
I think the I don't know if it's a word, but the unflappability of them, the fact that they just didn't care the situation, they were going to come through in the clutch no matter what. And that's just what they did all year long.
Yeah. Well, and you go through the streak, Titans game has a pick six at the end. Dolphins game has a pick that sets up the touchdown. Browns game has a pick at the end. Cowboys game, I feel like there was deep. And then you shut them out, so that kind of counts as defense winning that one. Right. Texans game, defense gets you a pick in overtime. It's not, not the defense holds a couple times actually at overtime to let you win that game. Miami game, you get a late defensive touchdown and the safety to seal it. Jags game, you get a couple big picks in the second half, fourth quarter there. And then this game, defensive touchdown and then the pick to seal it. Like, it's just every one of these games, sometime in the second half or near the end of the game, there's the defense making a massive.
Yep.
I think it was this game also where Daniel Graham had a massive drop again.
That checks out.
There was one possession in here where it was like the Patriots had a chance to I think, I'm not 100% sure. I forgot to write it in my notes. I think it's the Patriots' second possession in the third quarter when they're already up 21-10. And there's two straight plays here. Okay, no, one of these intentional. All right, so I think there's like a 1st and 15 play where Brady looks for Daniel Graham. And
there was, that does happen.
I think it's that one. And he's wide open, like down the seam on a play that like really could have turned that into a scoring drive, and he just drops it. So
not great.
I think that's one. I think one big takeaway I have from doing this series, it's that we need to seriously reframe the way we talk about 2003 Tom Brady in particular, because in no way is he a game manager. This is a boom or bust quarterback who's creating big plays all over the field, which are then sometimes undone by bad picks that he throws.
Right. It's totally true. Totally true. One other note I had is that they showed a graphic of it. The Patriots were the 30th ranked offense in the red zone this year. I think the number at the time was 40 trips and 17 touchdowns, which is just not good. So again, offense was okay, but they just couldn't get it. They just couldn't get it going in the short area. Interestingly enough, and they mentioned on the broadcast, the 32nd overall team in the red zone that year, the Carolina Panthers. So now I don't know if that's where they finished over the year because there was, a game left, and obviously the Panthers hadn't played because it was Saturday night. But an interesting kind of note that the Patriots and the Panthers were two of the worst teams in the red zone that year, and both made it to the Super Bowl and scored a ton of points in the Super Bowl too.
Yeah, and also Patriots have a red zone turnover in that Super Bowl, so that seems relevant there. I pulled up the final year stats. Patriots end up 27th in red zone touchdown percentage. Panthers end up 31st. I'm just gonna guess based on how small these it's 50. It's Patriots have 50 red zone possessions, so there's a lot of room for like in the Bills game they have a bunch of red zone possessions and score, and that alone probably is why it moves up.
Yeah, bump them up. Yeah.
And I'm gonna guess the Panthers probably did enough there. I'm gonna guess it's not there's not a lot of room between these percentages either.
No. And so that's kind of the way it works. So, all right, let's get into the thing.
You talk about the red zone defense or red zone offense too. Lack of a running game, and this is relevant for this year's Patriots team too. And recent, like you go back to the struggles of the 2022 group with Mac Jones.
Yeah.
One of the like obviously Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi were both awful that year, but that red zone offense was atrocious largely because they could not run the football. So you're asking your quarterback to do everything in the most congested area of the field where the defense can just flood it with zone defenders and like double cover 3 or 4 different guys. So got to be able to run it in that area. That's something that's always been true.
Yep, very true. So, all right. The last thing we'll talk about for this game is probably the thing that everyone remembers most about this game, and that is Joe Namath during the second quarter after that Brady interception. After that, Brady interception. Correct? Am I right about this?
No, it's
no.
After the
they go for it when they go for it on 4th down. I'm sorry, when they go for it on 4th down, and the Jets wind up kicking a field goal. He's being interviewed by Susie Colbert, and he makes him. He actually, he's completely wasted, but he makes some good points about Chad Pennington, and then he actually says he's like, I don't really care what we look like at the end of the season. We're building for next year, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is kind of going in the right direction. And then he's like, I would kiss you, and I'm like, oh god.
Well,
he says it once.
She kind of smiles at him, like clearly, like just like like an interviewer friendly thing, and he looked at her, and it's the immediate, like you can see it on his eyes of, oh, she wants to kiss me right now. She does not at all in any way.
No,
but
and
he
then
is
like
15 drinks deep.
What's funny is that the game is happening at the same time, so they're like going to him, but then they're going to the play, and like they're not commentating on the play because the interview is still going on.
Yeah,
but bro. So it's not. I don't think it's on his face when he. I can't remember. I honestly, I just watched it. I can't remember if it's on his face the second time. I know it's on his face the first time when he says, "I want to kiss you," and then he like says, "I want to kiss you again," and he gives a little peek behind her back. And you're just like, bro, someone get this guy off the screen like now, like immediately. It was a bad look, dude. But that's one of those moments that like people remember where it's like, and he like leans in and she's like, yep, no, thanks. Appreciate it. Oh, it's really nice of you. Like, thanks. It's like,
it's incredibly uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
You can see the gears turning in his head. Not his best one. It's one where you're very surprised that they ended up like doing the interview because you get 2 words into him talking, and it's clear that he is not fit for TV right now.
Correct. Well, and I almost think
it's like I look at him like, why do they? Because the kissing thing happens on like the second question, and I'm just like, why do they even go to a second question? Like they should have cut that after one.
From an entertainment purpose, you almost like, maybe we'll get something here. You never know. And if they did, but
they got something
you expected, I guess. But my goodness, it was they're like, what do you think about the organization and how and he's like, I don't give a damn about the organization. I was like, what, dude? And then he's like, well, we started out really bad. And I'm like, oh, he's saying that he doesn't care that they started out rough. But he was like, I don't give a damn with the organization. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, we just focus on kissing Susie Colbert. All right. That's fine. But it was wild. Then he had to issue a public statement and the whole thing and everything else. It was like it was a mess.
And to his credit, he went to like outpatient like treatment for it and quit drinking after.
He did quit drinking after, which is good. But
so
like,
you know what? Yeah. Embarrassing moment, but he turned his life around. So good for him.
Very true. Very true. I also feel like he's Joe Namath. I feel like in New York, Joe Namath hasn't been told no by many women.
I mean, he's a party boy,
but he's a party guy. He's the life of the party. Joe Namath, Broadway Joe, right? Like, I feel like everyone wanted to be around him and be with him, and so like he's just back into his drunk mode. Like, hey, this is like I'm hanging out with chicks and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and you go back to like that era of football too, and the 2 main quarterbacks like 2 stars, 2 big ones are Joe Namath and Roger Staubach.
Yep.
And it is you can't get more different.
Yeah.
And like there's a famous interview with Staubach that's kind of funny where whoever's interviewing makes a comment like like it's something about how Namath is promiscuous or whatever, and Staubach's like, well, I can be as promiscuous as him. I just do it with one woman.
Right. That's crazy.
an old clip.
It's funny.
The other big kind of interesting note I had from this one, they talk about how, and I think the reason this was scheduled this way to be on ESPN, the first ever ESPN game was Patriots at Giants. So in that same stadium,
Yep.
in that same booth, same, guy on the call doing play-by-play. For some reason, that name is escaping me.
Yeah, it was like, because they had that funny segment with Cal Ripken Jr.
Cal
where
Ripken.
he's doing the thing. Was it? The hell's the guy's name, dude? I don't know his name. The voice I know, and I can't think of his flipping name. But what are you gonna do? It is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think it says it at the beginning, which is weird. But I don't think it says it at the beginning.
Yeah, they do it. Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. Oh, Mike Patrick.
Mike Patrick. I was gonna say I thought they said Mike.
Yeah, it's Mike Patrick ends up being on the call for that, which is he had done every ESPN game up to that point.
Yeah, 200 straight game.
Yeah, but some names from that. So the first game, it was November 8th, 1987 at Giant Stadium. It was Raymond Berry's Patriots against Bill Parcells Giants.
Wow.
So I believe that's Bill Belichick on that Giant staff at that point. I'm pretty sure. I didn't double check that because I just assumed it's true. So I don't know if you want to check me on it. Giants end up winning 17-10, but some of the players in that game, you've got Carl Banks, you've got Pepper Johnson, who was now a coach for the Patriots. You've got Harry Carson, Lawrence Taylor, that linebacker group for the Giants. That back then it was just absolutely disgustingly good.
Incredible.
Yeah, and then Patriots, you've got Fryer, you've got Stanley Morgan, Steve Grogan, Bruce Armstrong, Andre Tippett, Raymond Claiborne. That ended up being a pretty good Patriots team. And was that the strike season too, 87?
I don't know. By the way, Belichick was there in 1987. 1987 NFL strike. I'm not sure. You know what? Yes, it was.
Yeah, because it wasn't. They missed week 2, and then other players played for 6 weeks or something, and then they got an agreement, and the regular guys came back.
Yeah,
that worked.
So,
and then I don't know if you remember that game.
I do not. No, I was not. I was 1. No, that's not true. I was 3 in that game. So I do not remember that game. So
yeah, you were You were the same age for that game as I was for the 01 Pats. That's what that is for you. Yeah,
that's all right.
And then I only realized it after I said his name, but the offensive coordinator for the Jets is Paul Hackett. That's the father of Nathaniel Hackett.
Yes.
And then I have notes for other things that happened in sports too, if we want that.
Just quickly, because we're already here at almost 50 minutes here.
Oh my God, yeah, we are. I'll go through it quickly. There's 2 other Saturday games. One I thought was very funny. The Falcons go up 30-7 at Tampa Bay and almost blow it. They end up, it comes down to a 2-point conversion to tie the game. They knock it away and end up winning 30-28. But that made me laugh. And then what looks like a really big game at the time, Vikings hosting the Chiefs, a Chiefs team that was at the contention at the top of the AFC. A Vikings team that started off the year 6 or 7-0 and had been really good all year. The Vikings score the first 31 points of that game against Kansas City and just demolish them. So what that does set up for the Patriots is a situation where with a win or a tie the next week, they will take the number 1 seed in the AFC. And then the Broncos in Sunday Night Football with the Colts, they throw a pick 6 on the first drive and then score 4 consecutive touchdowns on their next 4 drives, end up blowing out the Colts. Wow. And the other thing I noted, because they talked about it on the broadcast when they were talking about the highlights package or whatever, apparently Wake Forest had just defeated North Carolina in triple overtime in college basketball. I don't think either of those teams ended up being anything special that year. But, if there's any Wake or UNC fans
college
listening.
basketball heads out there.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into our ad break, and then we'll get into the second game here. This ad break, of course, is for Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Do you know ball? There's only 1 series left in the playoffs, and the championship is officially on the line. the trophy's going to be in the building tomorrow night. We'll see if Indiana can hold them off. But nevertheless, that means time's running out for you to put your final takes to the test on Prize Picks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. And again, remember, you want to use the basketball? You can use basketball, but you can also use baseball. You can also use women's basketball. You can also use esports. You can do all sorts of things as well. Remember that Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals as well, which makes things really easy. On Tuesdays, there's Taco Tuesdays, which means there are several projections that are discounted about 15 to 25%. And as always, Flex Fridays, which means you got to opt in, you got to click the Flex play, but any game on the board, if lineup doesn't win, you get your net losses back in promo funds up to your promo limit as soon as the lineup settles. So what you're going to do, download the app Prize Picks, put in the promo code CLNS. When you do that, you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 instantly. Again, download the app Prize Picks, put in the promo code CLNS, and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right. Here we go. Last game of the regular season at home.
Yeah. This is another Saturday game, week 17, December 27th, 2003. It's a couple days after Christmas. Patriots get the 1:35 slot on Saturday. They end up taking this one 31-0 over the Bills. It's the reversal of the 31-0 week 1 loss. You have the Lawyer Malloy situation. For those who, if you're tuning into this and you don't know the Lawyer Malloy situation, starting safety for the Patriots, Pro Bowl safety in 2002, guy who lifts Bill Belichick after they win the Super Bowl in 2001. He's in a contract dispute. The Patriots have brought in Rodney Harrison. Bill decides he's going to cut bait a couple days before the season. He leaves for Buffalo, and then leads that Buffalo defense to stomping the Patriots week 1. And then, the seasons change quite drastically from there for both teams. Bills are out of the playoffs at this point. This will be the last game for head coach Greg Williams there. He gets fired after this, which that's funny because that's a name that ends up coming up quite a lot in NFL history. Offensive coordinator there is Kevin Gilbride, who, if that name sounds familiar, he was the Giants offensive coordinator in 2007 and 2011. Defensive coordinator for the Bills is Jerry Gray. Dick LeBeau was actually on their staff. I think that's the only other interesting name. Bills had just lost 2 straight games. They were not that good. They were the 5th ranked defense by points, but their offense was 30th, and their defense was actually the worst at forcing turnovers in the whole league. So it was 5th in points allowed defensively, and you can't force turnovers at all. I'm not quite sure I understand how that works.
Yeah, it's not great.
But yeah, it was Drew Bledsoe, quarterback, who did not have a good season. Alex Van Pelt, also on this Bills team, inactive for the game. Travis Henry at running back with a 2nd straight 1,000-yard rushing season. Sammy Morris is on that team. Future Patriots legend Sam Aiken is on that team. Eric Moulds is a good receiver for them. The names that you might know are probably on defense, and that's going to be like Nate Clements, Takeo Spikes, Terrence McGee, Aaron Scopel, Sam Adams. Can't believe he wasn't a Patriot.
I know.
London Fletcher, Antoine Winfield, Pat Williams. The defense has a lot of really good players on it. And Greg Williams is a very good defensive coach, but a guy who wears thin. And in the broadcast, they talk about how his players were starting to quit on him. And you kind of see that here. Patriots score. Good.
No, 100%. And this is Patriots get the ball and they march right down the field. Right down the field. They don't even face a 3rd down on their first drive.
No.
It is rare. I was going to say it's rare for a team. It's a 9-play, 62-yard drive with 0 third downs. That just doesn't happen very often. The Patriots drive right down the field, and they score a touchdown. They throw a touchdown pass to Daniel Graham, a 1-yard touchdown pass to Daniel Graham.
Can I give my favorite play?
Do it.
Or favorite 2 plays on that drive? Brady has 2 11-yard runs on this drive.
Yeah.
One of them's a QB sneak for 11 yards. Or I think he gets tackled by Larry Malloy on it.
Yeah. And
And they came out with a package where they go 5 wide with 1 tight end and 4 wide receivers, which I think that does also highlight that finally their receivers are all healthy at the same time, and they're able to do that. And I also like the Greg Williams defenses are known for being hyper aggressive. And I think the Patriots just came out and said, we are going to spread you out as wide as we can so that you can't fool us with any kind of disguises. You kind of have to declare what you're doing defensively. And then we're just going to hit you underneath over and over and over and over and over and over again because you're going to play the same things. We're going to know what's coming. And then we're just going to move the ball on you, which I mean they do for the entire first half, including these first 2 drives.
Right. And that's, so meanwhile, the Bills get the ball back. They run it with Travis Henry twice, and you're like, okay, Travis Henry picks up a few yards. Drew Bledsoe's first pass attempt of the game. Teddy Bruschi comes in, just completely untouched. And Bledsoe ends up throwing a duck that gets picked off by Mike Vrabel. And, here we are, a few plays later, Patriots once again punch the ball into the end zone. And so now we're 2 drives in. The Patriots actually pick up 2 third and ones on this drive. So they've actually faced a few third downs. We're 2 drives in. We're 10 minutes into the game. The Patriots have 2 sustained drives for touchdowns. The Bills have run 3 total plays, and one of them was a bad-looking interception. And you're just looking at it like, oh my God, this is a disaster. A disaster.
And Brady has 1 incompletion too. Ball's not hitting the ground.
Correct. Yep. Correct.
I do want to highlight.
You're just man, this is ridiculous.
Demoralizing. I want to highlight the touchdown on this one too, because it's when we talk about the way they're inching their way down the field, it's 6 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, 6 yards, 3 yards, 1 yard. Then you get to the 9-yard line, and it's just like a little hitch to Bethel Johnson in the flat, and he breaks 1 tackle and dives into the end zone over someone.
Yeah.
That's the longest play of the drive, and it's 9 yards.
It was a nice little play by him too.
Very nice. I will say, you see the flashes with Bethel Johnson.
Yes.
You see why he's a 2nd-round pick.
Right.
He's not a lot of athletes like that.
No, and especially this year when you see the special team stuff mixed in as well. Of course, after that, he just he can't.
Couldn't put it together. He didn't have it mentally. Didn't have it as a route runner.
Right. But certainly some talent there. So the Bills get the ball back. Surprise, surprise. They go 3 out again, and you're like, oh God, this is the end of that. And I think the guy on the broadcast, and I'm not sure if it was Dan Dierdorf on the broadcast. I think it was Dierdorf on the broadcast. Was after Bledsoe threw the pick, before the Patriots, they're up 7-0. There's 9 minutes. There's 9:17 left in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And he's like, this could be really bad for the Bills. And I'm like, dude, we're not even 5 minutes into we're 5 minutes into the game. And you're already, and he was 100% right. But it was it was already over for the Bills. And so Bills go 3 and out, and you're like, okay, now the Patriots going to drive down the field again, and Brady gets strip sacked. And they even say on the broadcast, this is the break the Bills needed. All right, here we go. The Bills start moving the ball a little bit, except they don't. They get the ball at the 29. They pick up 3 total yards. They line up to kick a field goal. They miss the field goal. But it gets worse. Because not only did they miss the field goal, they didn't snap the ball in time. So it's a delay of game penalty. The field goal doesn't count. So now they trot Bledsoe back onto the field to go for it on 4th and 12 at the 31 because you can't get a 48-yard field goal.
When the Bills clearly decided before this that they had nothing to lose and there was no point in punting.
100%, right? It's why are we going to punt? What are we doing? We're already down 14-0. The game's basically over at this point. And which is crazy to say because it's still the first quarter. But and then Bledsoe on 4th and 12 checks it down. This is a check down. He throws it 3 yards. And then
he drops the pass.
And it wasn't a great pass, but he drops the pass. And you're just like, what in the world is going on with the Buffalo Bills? And then the Patriots, of course, get the ball back and drive right down the field again. And this time they can throw the 20-yard pass or 19-yard pass to Troy Brown. And now it's 21-0. And you're like, okay, this is a joke. This team is a joke, right? The Bills go 3 and out. The Patriots go 3 and out. The Bills pick up a first down, and then miss another field goal. This one from 40 yards. And you're just like, this is a joke, man. This is like, it's unbelievable that the Bills are in this situation. So they miss a field goal, 40-yard kick, like not a difficult kick. And I know the conditions aren't great, but like, it's just cold out. Like the field's kind of crappy.
It's
but
not.
like, come on.
It wasn't even that close. It was 42 degrees at kickoff for this game too.
So
sunny day, like
right. So anyway, so they missed the field goal. The Patriots take the ball back. They drive right down the field and score a touchdown again. Now they're up 20-0, and you're like, all right, this game was over already. It's definitely over now. And then we go into halftime, and you're thinking like, all right, 28-0. The game's definitely over. And listen, of course it's over. Like it's 28-0. But Antonio Brown, not that Antonio Brown, but Antonio Brown starts off the second half with a long kick return, and who other than Bethel Johnson tracks him down and tackles him at the 19-yard line.
That was the play I was going to mention in the other game because I got my notes mixed up.
Oh, there you go.
Massive play from Bethel Johnson.
Huge play to make the play. Now, I will say, I think it's Don Davis was 51. Don Davis took a great angle and was there. Now, whether Antonio Brown would have cut back and scored anyway, I don't know. But Don Davis took a fantastic angle and actually beat him to the spot a few yards ahead. Maybe makes tackle, maybe doesn't. But either way, Bethel Johnson makes a great tackle and saves a touchdown, or at least saves the chance for a touchdown. So they have the ball first and goal, or first and 10 at the 18. And like, all right, now we're going to score. No, that's not true because they failed to convert on 4th and 21 from the 29-yard line. So the Bills just think they're going backwards. They're not even going forwards. They're going backwards. And, after this play, the Patriots, again, which is so funny when you look at it, like the Patriots struggle on offense at times. This game and in a lot of other games as well, when the defense comes up with a big play or a big drive or, stop to the team or whatever the case may be, I feel like the offense almost always goes on like an extended drive. Mm-hmm. And they do the exact same thing. This is the third straight time they've done that. Where they go on this extended drive, and Adam misses a 24-yard field goal. Like a 24-yard field goal. It's like almost impossible to miss
off the upright.
Off the upright. Like, and it's just like, what are we doing, dude?
And the snap and the hold aren't bad. They talk about it too because it's like a muddy field, and his footing is completely fine.
Yep.
No idea what got into Vinatieri in 03.
It just makes no sense, and he was awful all year long, right? And he did the same thing.
I think if we were doing this show now, like our reaction at this point would be something along the line, like especially me. Like what I would be talking about is we are holding on to Ken Walter right now to be a holder for a kicker,
right?
That we don't even trust. Our special, like our kicking unit is a weakness. And we have a bye week. We probably should be looking at kickers and punters just to make sure that we know we want this, which I think is probably the right way to look at the information you're being given there. And then, of course, Vinatieri ends up kicking game winners in 2 out of the 3 games. And in the other one, he makes 5 field goals in the snow.
Right. And so you're just like, oh, all right, he's fine, I guess. But it's just...
Dude, there was no, I think he was 24th, 25th in field goal percentage in 03. Like there was no indication in the regular season that Vinatieri was going to turn it on in the playoffs, other than that he had done it in 01 and he was elite in 02 in the regular season.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. So on the next drive, stop me if you've heard this before. On the next drive, the Bills get just on the outskirts of field goal range again. Mm-hmm. 1st and 10 at the Patriots 30. They wind up punting on 4th and 23 from the New England 43. It's just like, what in the world is going on with this freaking team, dude?
Holding penalty, run for, negative yards. False start. Like, it was just... and like I did, it's funny, you watch, especially the second half of this game, it does feel like the Bills are in New England territory a decent amount. The Patriots defense just keeps coming up with stops, so the Bills keep shooting themselves in the foot, which I suppose is what they did all season long.
Yep.
Do we want to get to that first play of the fourth quarter there?
Well, and then the first play of the fourth quarter, right? Bledsoe gets strip sacked by Bruschi, who then picks it up and rambles like 13 yards or whatever. Doesn't score, almost scores, but doesn't score. And then Bledsoe gets yanked, and then just like we're done. We're done here.
And Vinatieri makes the 24-yard field goal this time.
So now it's
31-0.
So now it's 31-0, and now we're sitting here saying, okay, I remember being in the stands, just thinking like we've got it to 31-0. Nobody move. Like nobody move. Don't do anything. Like and the Bills surprisingly turn it over again on the next possession in Patriots territory. The Patriots 22. They're at the Patriots 22-yard line, for God's sakes. And Travis Henry, who's their best player by far, runs it for like 10 yards. Ball pops out, recovered by Matt Chatham. Right. Yeah. And the Bills actually, because at this time, it was an automatic review. The Bills challenge it. It's upheld. The Patriots get the ball.
It was close.
It was very close. But nevertheless, they do that. What's interesting is that in the next drive, they pulled Tom Brady in the middle of the next drive, didn't they?
So this is something Belichick kind of does between these next two series. He lets the starters play and then starts pulling them out during the series so that they can get an ovation from the crowd. Reminds you of it's like a basketball game almost, where you pull the starters out one by one at the end, which I thought was kind of cool. And that's side note, like when we, especially like older Bill Belichick, people talk about this man like he has no emotions. But it's pretty clear that he has, he has fond feeling towards the players. He 100%. Wants them to have these emotional moments. He wants them to do that. You just have to play well enough to put yourself in a position for that.
It's true. That's very true.
Which this team absolutely does.
So
I want to talk about this last series.
Well, the Patriots get the ball to about midfield, and Ken Walter, with just one hell of a punt, pins the Bills back all the way at the 2-yard line.
And there's a little fight on it too. Like, and the Patriots do a really good job downing it. And then there's I think Patriots players thought the ball came out when the Bills guy picks it up. It's like scrum.
Yeah, it's this whole
with 5 minutes left in this game.
Yeah, it's 31-0, and it's like, all right, like the last game of the regular season, like let's just chill. All right.
Yeah.
And Travis Brown, which who could forget about Travis Brown? Of course,
this was his last NFL game.
Travis Brown, of course, from Northern Arizona. If you're not familiar with Travis Brown, Northern Arizona. Okay. That's pretty much it. That's all I got for you. Went to Seattle, went to Buffalo from 01 to 03. I think he played in 2 games in 03. 1 game in 2000 for Seattle, 1 game in 2001 for Buffalo, and 2 games in 2003 for Buffalo.
And for whatever reason, they activate him over Alex Van Pelt to be the backup here. It's the only game where Van Pelt is inactive all season long. So I do wonder if it was, we know that this guy is not long for this league, so we're going to give him a chance.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And he has a pretty good drive. I mean, he drives them all the way down the field. And listen, they're going against the backup Patriots defense, but, go ahead.
I want to talk about a couple of plays on this drive before we get to the end, because there's Patriots. It's like a mix of Patriots starters with third stringers and backups.
Yeah.
So, the Bills start to move the ball, but their second set of downs, the quarterback finds Josh Reed over the middle, and Larry Izzo just decks him over the middle of the field. And the side, the stadium's going nuts, the sideline's going crazy. Teddy Bruschi is running around screaming that Larry Izzo does it. And then we go back to the Jets game, and I talked about the blitz that they brought that gets Mike Vrabel the sack, where they bring that corner blitz.
Yep.
But now they've got Gerard Cherry in that spot, and they're calling same blitz, and the quarterback never sees it. Yep. It's from the blind side. He levels him on the blitz. Those are the 2 plays that really stood out to me, where it's okay, forget what happens later on. We got backups coming in making big plays, and then the play that sets it up, Travis Brown actually finds the tight end Dave Moore for a 28-yard completion from the 29-yard line to get the Bills to the 1 with 17 seconds left. Sean Mayer is the guy who makes the tackle on that to bring him down at the 1, who's another special teamer who believe is actually on the field at the end of Super Bowl 38 because Rodney Harrison is hurt.
I think you're right. I think you're right too. And what's interesting about this, and I remember this when it happened, he gets hacked within bounds.
Yeah.
And so, we're sitting here like, what's going to happen? Nope, the Bills call a timeout. And so we're like, oh my God, they're going to freaking score. I can't believe it. And so the Bills come out and line up. Now, the Patriots have almost all of their backups out there. Yes. The Bills come up, they line up for their first down play. Belichick calls timeout. And we're going, we're going nuts. The place is going nuts. Like, we want it because we all are rooting for 31-0. Like, we're all rooting for it. And so the place is going ballistic, right? That Belichick calls timeout. And it's like, no, screw you. Like, you want to keep this game going, that's fine. We're going to really play. And Travis Brown's looking for a receiver over the middle, and Larry Izzo jumps up and makes the interception in the end zone, in our end zone, in the north end zone. And we went. I think I cheered. I think I went just as crazy for that as I did in like the AFC Championship game. We were so excited about that.
They mobbed the field.
It was awesome. It was so awesome, and you knew like it meant something to the players too. It really did. And it meant something to Belichick that like they got embarrassed in the first game and they came back and they whooped the Bills in this last game. And it was just kind of that, that exclamation point of the season. It's like, I know we started out rough, but like, here we are. Like, this is the team. We're still good. It's not a fluke. And man, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Well, I love the play Izzo makes because like the Bills kind of get what they want. They run like a play action. And they have two receivers off to the left side. One guy's shallower, one guy's deeper. Izzo stays with the shallower guy at first and then like reads the quarterback and backs into the passing lane. And just like really heads up play. Also, is it Matt Chatham who comes in after that and levels the tight end? Someone does. I think it's Chatham. They don't really.
I think it was Chatham. I think you're right.
Yeah. So they wanted to hit. Yeah, just an all-time great Patriots moment. You got one play left in the season there with Damon Heward finally kneeling out the final 12 seconds or whatever's left on the clock.
Yeah.
This was the third home shutout the Patriots had that year, and it was, they mentioned this on the broadcast, the 7th time that year that they held their opponent without a touchdown. Just unbelievable defense.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy how good that one was.
Yeah, and I think they showed, because Brady didn't throw a pick in this game either, and I think he didn't throw an interception all year at home, which is just stupid. That's just stupid. Yeah. I mean, to go an entire year and not throw an interception at home is outrageous. And so, yeah.
Which I also think you look at some of the numbers around this defense, I do think it shows you how good Peyton Manning and Steve McNair were that year, that they were able to score 30 and 34 points.
Yeah.
Nobody else was doing that on this team. The only other team that hit 30 was Bills in week 1, and there's a defensive touchdown in there. And I think, that game is a fluke in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
Yeah. I have 2 other notes on this game that I can mention. And then for the other things this week, I kind of wanted to do a different format on it.
Okay. All right, I had one interesting game, but we can do it.
So we're gonna hit every game, so don't worry about that. We'll get to whatever game you're talking about. I promise.
All right.
So there was a point in this game where the teams kind of trade 3 and outs, and Lawyer Malloy comes in and hits Brady in the first half, and he hits him low in a hit that looks pretty similar to the hit he took in Pittsburgh 2 years before this, and looks very similar to the hit he takes 5 years later against the Chiefs that tears his ACL, and like. Third down, it's Lawyer Malloy who shakes him up, like hitting his plant foot as it lands, same type of thing. And he comes off, and they are looking at his knee. And I think that's a real, like, almost sliding doors moment of like, okay, if that is the time that he tears his ACL and MCL, and not the 08 opener, if let's say that's a coin flip and it goes the other way,
right?
How does that change legacies? Because then the Patriots are not winning a playoff game if that happens.
Way.
If they don't have Brady.
No.
Which means your AFC Championship game is going to be Tennessee at Indy.
I will say, I think there's a chance that they could have beaten Tennessee. I think there's a chance. They won that game 17-14. Like, there's a chance they win that game.
There's a chance.
They're not beating the Colts.
Well, and that's the thing. The Colts swept the Titans in the regular season that year. So I think, if that goes differently and that ends up as an injury for Brady, I think there's a real chance it's Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl. And we saw the Colts lose to the Panthers earlier that season. So I do wonder what happens. Are we talking about Jake Delhomme as a Super Bowl champion? What happens to the 04 Pats after that? And then obviously then I think the flip side of it is if we're just switching the injuries, what happens to the 08 Pats? But that's I think too far down the line. The only other play I wanted to mention was Tully. I don't remember if you said it before. Tully Bandikane gets his first career sack in this one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because he's the guy who kind of came on throughout the season.
He absolutely did. He had a really nice special teams tackle on a kick return as well, where he just blows a guy up like the 12, and you're just like, what the hell, dude? And 48, and I'm like, who the hell? And I'm like, oh my god, 48 is Tully Bandikane before he switched to 95. So I was like, oh my god,
rookie year, his first sit in New England. Did he leave New England? I forget.
He left and came back. Yeah, he was one of the guys that left and came back. Yep.
But it's just like, he went to San Francisco.
Yeah, it was a weird. I think he was only gone for a year, right? He was only gone for a year.
07 and 08.
Okay, all right.
I was surprised he was out of the NFL after 2010. That he didn't play in a game again after 2010. That surprises me because he was not a bad player. He had 5 sacks in 2010. Lucky.
At that point, he'd been in the league a while. You know what I mean? He's just maybe an older guy. Who knows?
But I'm just looking at the list of guys who made plays in this game, and it's like I feel like shout out to the special teams guys right now. It's Izzo making the pick, Gerard Cherry, Tully Bandikane, Matt Chatham recovering the fumble. Chris Akins had a really nice special teams tackle in this one. Don Davis was pretty good for them. Sean Mayer with the goal line tackle. That group of guys.
Yeah. Kept it 31-0. So that was good. All right, what do you got for around the league here?
So I found the 2003 NFL playoff scenarios sheet that they put out for the final week. So I'm not gonna read through the whole thing, but I'll kind of talk about what the scenarios were division by division, and then we can talk about how the games actually went for that. AFC East at the top. Patriots clinch home field advantage for the playoffs or the win. They do that. That's the only thing there. AFC North, things get very interesting. Baltimore will win the division title with either a win or a Bengals loss.
Mm-hmm.
The Bengals end up playing early afternoon, and Baltimore hosts the Steelers for Sunday Night Football. And the Bengals are hosting the Browns. They clearly what the NFL schedule makers are looking at is the Bengals are going to win that, and then it'll come down to if Baltimore can win for the division at the end.
Yep.
The Bengals just blow it at home to the Browns.
Yep.
There's no other way to describe what happens in that.
They're winning in the fourth quarter, and you lose that game. It's like embarrassing.
Was that the game you were going to mention?
It was not the game I was going to mention. No.
Okay. I was just because this is a very weird, very chaotic week.
Well, what's interesting is that Baltimore, just barely beats Pittsburgh. They kick a field goal in the early in the fourth, but they kick a field goal in the fourth and then win in overtime. 13-10. So imagine the drama behind that game if they had actually been in that situation where the Bengals had won and they had to win that game, right?
Yeah. That's it's crazy. I'm curious what actually ended up happening for the Bengals in this game. The Bengals had 3 fourth quarter possessions in this game. One of them they score to take the lead, then they immediately give up the lead, and then they go 3 and out, and they don't get the ball back until there's a minute left in the game. And John Gittin throws a pick.
I was going to say, he probably throws a pick at the end, right? That's right.
Yeah. So Bengals completely choking away a chance for the playoffs. That would have made that Sunday night game interesting.
Yep.
AFC South, if Indy wins, they clinch a playoff berth and they clinch a division title. That's what this comes down to. Otherwise, Titans play the Buccaneers and they take care of business. They blow them out. So Indy needs to win to win the division. They go to Houston. They are down 17-10 late in the fourth quarter. Brandon Stokely catches a touchdown to tie it up, and Mike Vanderjagt 43-yard field goal as time expires for the Colts to clinch the division in that one. Not the last game-winning field goal in that stadium that year, but man, did they make that? That Texans team was scrappy. They weren't good.
No,
they were scrappy,
but they were scrappy, and they go. They tie it up 17-17, and the Texans immediately go 3 and out and take a less than a minute off the clock, and you're like, oh, great, that's good, nice job. And then the Colts drive down and bleed the rest of the clock out, and Vanderjagt kicks the field goal to win the game.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me make sure I have everything right for this next one, because this is where I don't remember if these two are related. I'll just do AFC West.
Yep.
Chiefs have the division clinched. Nothing happens for them. Denver already has a playoff spot clinched because they beat Indy the week before. So that's AFC West ends up being all good. Chiefs take the 2 seed. NFC East. We're just going to go to the top of the NFC East here because this is interesting. It's the Eagles and the Rams. So if the Rams win, they get a first-round bye. And if St. Louis win. Let me start over. St. Louis already has the division title and a first-round bye. If they win, they get home field advantage.
Okay. Wait.
Then the other one,
the AFC East, the NFC East,
NFC East.
The Rams win the East.
No, that's the NFC West, but we're about to go to the East.
Okay.
Then in the East, there's the Eagles need to win the division title. So if the Cowboys win and the Eagles lose, the Cowboys win the NFC East. But if the Eagles win, they win the division and get a top 2 spot. And then if the Eagles win and the Rams lose, the Eagles and So Saturday night after this Patriots game, the Eagles crush Washington. They clinch the division. And then the next day, second-year Joey Harrington in the Detroit Lions beat the Rams by 10 whole points.
Yep.
And knocked them down to the 2 seed.
Yeah. Yeah, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, it was a wild game. And they were up.
Is this when Kurt Warner hurt at this point? Is that what was going on with that Rams team?
Yeah, Mark Bulger was the quarterback.
Both of them played. I wonder if Warner gets hurt during this game.
They were up by 10 at the half. They were up 20-10 at the half, and wound up losing, giving up 20 points in the second half and losing.
So I wonder if Kurt Warner gets hurt during this game.
That would seem to make sense. The only touchdown pass comes from Mark Bulger, so I don't know if Warner's only 4 for 11 for 23 yards, so he must have gotten hurt early in the game.
Yeah.
But either way. So so the Rams end up the 2 seed, and the Eagles are the 1 seed.
Yep. Which sets things up in the NFC, and then what was it? Oh yeah, this is the one other thing. Just total chaos in the NFC North. Yeah, this is what I was going to get. The Broncos end up tying into this. So Minnesota has 3 possible paths to a playoff spot.
Yep.
If they win, not only are they in, they win the division. If Green Bay loses, not only is Minnesota in, but they win the division. If they lose and Green Bay wins, they're still in the playoffs if Seattle loses.
Right.
So with that context, let's take a look at what ends up happening here in the other 2 games. Seattle wins in the other game on Saturday.
Yep.
So that they're actually out of the wild card picture here. It's only division now for Minnesota. Green Bay gets to host Denver, and because Denver beat the Colts the week before, they're resting starters.
Yep.
So the Packers beat the hell out of the Broncos. So the season for Minnesota comes down to a game at an Arizona team that is 3-12.
So this is the game. This is the game that I had seen that I was going to talk about.
Yes, this is one of my favorite moments in NFL history right here. This is a Minnesota team that started off the year. They were 6-0 to start the year. Now they are 9-6.
Yep.
And they need to win this game. Now, they win the division they're hosting. A playoff game, lose, and they're out. Would you like to take it from there?
Yeah, I mean they drive down and kick a field goal with 6:48 left to go in the game, and they take a 17-6 lead. And you figure 17-6, like we're good. Josh McCown, he stinks. There's no way that the Cardinals are going to drive down and score not 1 touchdown, but 2 touchdowns, or
and the
even
Cardinals
a touchdown and an extra point.
Cardinals were 32nd in points scored that year.
Yeah. So
they're also 32nd in points allowed.
Yeah, it's not great. Cardinals bad team, just certified bad team. And so the Cardinals proceed to go on a 14-play, 60-yard scoring drive that takes up almost 5 minutes of time. They get the ball with 7 minutes left, so there's less than 2 minutes left to go in the game when they score the touchdown. And you're thinking, okay, well, surely the game's over now because, Arizona's sitting here with, one timeout left, under 2 minutes left to go in the game. And sure, they've just scored, but okay, fine. They missed the 2-point conversion. So they're still down by 5. So it's no big deal. Fine. No, don't worry about it. No big deal. And they recover the freaking onside kick. And you're just like, how? How are the Vikings that bad? Arizona recovers the onside kick. And then credit to the Cardinals. They drive down the field and they throw a last second, literally at the buzzer, 28-yard touchdown pass.
Well, I think
someone named Nate Poole.
Well, I think if you back up for a second here, they do get down to the Minnesota 9-yard line with 39 seconds left in the game, and McCown gets sacked twice. One of these is a strip sack.
Yep.
They get all the way to the 28-yard line, 4th and 25 with 4 seconds left in the game.
Which, by the way, here's what's crazy about this. They have the ball, right? 2nd and 6 at the 9-yard line. McCown gets sacked, so they have to take their third timeout. There's 31 seconds left to go in the game, right? He gets strip sacked. They recover it. The clock is running.
Yes.
So they have to sprint back to the line and get a playoff because they can't stop the clock because it's 4th down and 25 from the 28-yard line. It's 4th down. So you can't spike the ball. There's no way for you to stop the clock. You have no timeouts. You're down by 5. And you're just like, let's see what happens. And Josh McCown just somehow completes the pass in April. And
then we have to talk about the catch because he catches this with an old NFL rule. It doesn't exist anymore. It's the force out rule.
That's right.
Yeah. So It used to be in the NFL that I don't remember the exact wording, but I believe what it was is that if the receiver jumps and catches the ball and would have landed back in bounds, but the defender pushes him out of bounds while he's in the air, that is also a catch. That
correct.
Counts. Once he's left his feet, if he's come back down in bounds, it's a catch. And that is the rule that gives Poole the touchdown because he's in the back corner of the end zone leaping above everyone and they push him well out of bounds. That's not what the rules were at the time.
It was just absolutely wild. Just wild. And
if you,
I was just saying, Nate Poole, by the way, finishes his career with 8 more career catches over the next 2 years that he played. It was his second and final touchdown catch of his career. Just insane ending. To knock them out of the playoffs, and this is a consistent theme with these Vikings. Right? They went 15-1 and lost in the first round of the playoffs, and these Vikings just could never break through. And this is another example. You have the lead against an awful team with a terrible quarterback with terrible weapons, and you still somehow lose the game. It's wild.
Yeah, no, and it's crazy. If you have not seen this, by the way, first of all, go watch the catch because it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Find the version with the Minnesota Vikings radio call on it because first of all, their announcer is amazing. I don't know if you've heard his stuff before, but he's on the Minnesota Miracle. He's fantastic. Great announcer. Very emotional. Very good at rising to the moment.
Yep.
But also given his emotion personally. Right. So the touchdown call, if you didn't know better and you just heard the call of the touchdown itself, you'd think that this is the Cardinals announcer calling it. And then after the play ends, he goes, "No!" Just pure pain
Unbelievable.
Can't believe what he's watching.
Yeah.
It's hilarious to look at the actual play-by-play of this game in the fourth quarter, because it's literally it's a 7-6 Vikings lead. Randy Moss touchdown. First play of the next drive, Josh McCown throws a pick. You tackle on a field goal with 6:52 left. You're up 17-6 with 6:52 left in the game. If you win the game, you're in the playoffs hosting a game, and you don't touch the football again.
Never get the ball back. It's crazy.
Unbelievable choke job from Minnesota.
So
and it's like the way it all comes together in part because of like the Broncos not playing starters against the Packers and like what goes on in those other games. That's an insane week 17 in the NFL.
Yeah,
insane.
That was a wild one. That was a wild week. So, anyway,
so
all right.
That's I'll read off the playoff field because that's what we're going to get into after this. What the matchups are. Patriots and Chiefs with the byes in the AFC, Eagles and Rams in the NFC. Your matchups: Broncos at Colts, that's the 6-3, and Titans at Ravens in the AFC. And the NFC: Cowboys at Panthers, Seahawks at Packers.
There you go.
That sets it up, and we're gonna take it up there in the. We'll skip over the wild card round into the divisional round. When we talk to you next time, we'll talk about those divisional and AFC Championship games in New England.
Exactly. Yep.
Also, I'll look at the bottom of the standings here, by the way, just because I was curious about it. There were 10 teams in the NFL that finished with 5 or fewer wins. Each league had 3, 5, and 11 teams and 2, 4, and 12 teams. So, like, this Cardinals team that finished last in points, offense, and defense picked third that year.
Yeah.
Giants 4-12, Chargers 4-12, Raiders 4-12. Is that next year's draft, the Drew Brees one?
2002.
No.
2004.
Oh. Sorry, 04.
No,
oh my God. 04 is the Eli Manning draft.
Yeah. With the Giants at the 5th pick. Because that's Roethlisberger. Because the Steelers draft Roethlisberger. Yeah.
Should we do? I will say the full first round of the 04 draft is also on YouTube. Not going to add that into our show now, I've watched most of it before. I put it on as background noise once while I was doing other things, and it's very funny because Robert Gallery, the tackle, ends up being the number 2 pick to the Raiders. He was like unplayably bad. He was also, I think, had injury issues. And every other pick, like it's Eli Manning, Larry Fitzgerald, Phillip Rivers, Sean Taylor, Kellen Winslow, Roy Williams, D'Angelo Hall. There's some good players at the top of this draft. Robert Gallery is just also there.
Yep. Pretty wild. So, all right. That's what we got. Thanks for coming through, everyone. We appreciate it. And we're going to be back. So schedule's a little different next week. We're going to be back Sunday night with a special guest talking about the 2 playoff games. And then it'll be next Thursday night, and we're hoping to have another special guest as well, because that will be the Super Bowl as well as the opening game the next year against the Colts. So
that'll be fun.
Yeah, it will be. So anyways, thanks for tuning in.
Intense.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everyone, people in the chat as well. Although the chat wasn't only booming today. Although it's our fault. We dropped the ball. We didn't create the show early enough, and I think because we're doing a day early, not creating the show early enough, we kind of snuck it by people. So
you might be done for the year with school, but I unfortunately am not done for the year with work and totally dropped the ball on that one.
Yep. It's on me too. Whatever. So, but we'll get that created on Sunday, so everyone knows that we're at Sunday night as well. So, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Be good to each other and go Pats.